Hey guys, this is Mike.
This is Matt. Me, Matt.
Yeah.
It's me.
And this is the Matt and Mike podcast experience. This is episode 3. This week we're talking about none other than the director, Kevin Smith. And thanks for listening. That's it.
Our farewell podcast.
We say that every time.
I've already been stumped within like the first 1 second.
First, we're going to actually talk about... this might be a mainstay.
You're gonna do recommendations?
Yeah. This might be just a mainstay. We'll do a quick
You know, I think it should be.
Okay. Then from now on,
It's official.
as soon as you listen to this, you will hear a recommendation at the sound of the tone. Bow. Okay.
The toll of your own bell.
Yeah. How about you go first, Matt, since alphabetical order?
Recommendations?
Yes.
All right.
You just list like the entire Library of Congress.
My recommendations are Kevin Smith movie. Oh, loophole.
Loophole.
Gotcha.
Bird.
Okay. So this week, I'm going to talk about a movie that's in theaters now. Why are you laughing?
Because I know this is already a lie.
Why?
Because it's going to be Paul Blart
wouldn't-
again.
I wouldn't do that.
That's a lie. I
wouldn't
wouldn't
lie.
do that. Okay, go ahead. I'll let
It's a
you
new
do
movie.
it. Okay.
I'll just want to read you the synopsis.
Of Paul Blart.
No,
Okay.
my recommendation.
Okay.
Well, just let me get through it.
I am. You're already laughing.
I'm not laughing.
Okay.
An Australian man travels to Turkey after the Battle of Gallipoli to try and locate his 3 missing sons reported missing in action, where he forges a relationship with a beautiful Turkish woman who owns the hotel in which he stays. Holding on to hope, he must travel across the war-torn landscape with the help of a Turkish officer, himself a veteran of the battles. This movie is called The Water Diviner. Have you heard of this?
Okay, it's not Paul Blart, guys. Matt, like, you seriously stumped me there. I thought you were like making all this up, and then you were gonna be like, the officer's name is Paul Blart. No, I actually have.
Yeah.
It's Russell Crowe, right?
Yep.
Yep. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. It looked interesting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I mean, I think Russell Crowe is usually pretty good in everything, and this is the first movie he's directed.
Nice.
And I messed up.
Why?
This is the wrong thing. My real recommendation is Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. Let's get blarted.
Is that what it's actually called?
That's my catchphrase for it.
Oh, okay.
They should have called it that.
They should have. Let's get blarted.
All right, what's your recommendation?
You should have done that. I thought you were going to totally trick me. I guess you did kind of, because I thought it was going to be Paul Blart, but it wasn't.
Well, that's not my real recommendation. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's good or not.
Well, I still have a recommendation. Mine's actually something I haven't seen either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's any semblance of refrain in this podcast. That's my recommendation.
Well, I do have a real one.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I totally derailed this.
Go ahead. You're still first.
All right.
I think you're also older than me, aren't you?
No?
You aren't?
No, you are.
When were you born?
March?
Of
1982.
82?
No.
83?
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't know that?
Yes. I lied. I thought it was 82.
No.
I guess the only people I know of that are older than me are, well, besides my parents and every other person, is Nate and Ryan Cunningham.
You just blew my...
Or, I mean, well, obviously Ryan Cunningham. Ryan Munich.
All right, name
Like our
dropper.
friends and Adam Ollie. A name dropper?
Such a name dropper.
Look, all these people are going to give me total rollbacks for these name drops. I have a feeling what this recommendation is going to be. Go ahead, Matt.
My real recommendation is Face Off.
Okay, I was incorrect on that one, too.
The
So
reason-
a movie that's out already, Face Off?
Yeah. You've seen it, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
came out
awesome.
like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The reason why is I heard on a Bad Movie podcast I listened to,
Mm-hmm.
they did an episode on Face Off and kind of tore it apart.
What?
Well, I mean, they weren't like hurtful about it. So I don't want to like criticize them.
They were hurtful to an inanimate object.
But they kind of ripped it apart for being like silly.
Yeah.
And for John Travolta. and
John
Nicolas
Travolta,
Cage
Nicolas
being
Cage's
hammy.
acting is that way anyway. But
But that's
why you
what I
wanna
like
watch them.
about it.
Yeah,
That's why one of the things that makes it good. Like, yeah, they're over the top and like
I think it's
John
it's-
Travolta is going like, woo!
Yeah, I think it's cool to see him switch back and forth from being like a good guy to a bad guy.
Yeah, that
which
they
is
both
awesome.
get to do that.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched it again, and
Mm-hmm.
I realized how good it was all over again.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
So,
What podcast is it so we can tell them they're pieces of shit?
I
No, I'm just kidding. We won't do that. We don't want to hurt people's feelings.
I think they all, like us, like liked it ironically, but you know they weren't like, this is trash.
It's not good enough, man.
But-
You gotta get a Nicolas Cage and John Travolta tattoo on your face like I did.
Yeah, and I meant to comment on that.
Yeah. Which did not happen.
But yeah, it's a John Woo movie, so all the action scenes were awesome.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
another cool thing is there's no CGI in it. It's
Yeah.
all real, like bullets and like real blood spraying, which is always good to see. And they have a speedboat chase at the end. So any movie with a speedboat chase is always good.
So wait, no CGI? No Colonel Jermaine interlopers? I had nothing for the last name, so. My last name is Interloper. But yeah, that was a great movie. I liked, I don't know, I just thought it was really, really interesting how like they each went from good to bad, and that's really
and
cool.
I think the fact that they're like hamming it up is one of the things that makes it good, because like I don't
Like, the
always
one
want to see
character-
people being natural. you
The
know?
one character, like, the Nicolas Cage plays at the beginning is the bad guy, like, and that's who his character is. And then when John Travolta becomes that character by switching their faces, it makes sense because
Yeah.
they're both very good at doing that. But you also see John Travolta go from that character to being like super hammy, and Nicolas Cage from being super hammy to being super like
more normal,
right,
Yeah.
being like super like when they're the cop, they're not really like super hammy
Right.
at all. Like they're very serious, like shit, something's gonna go down, and they also have to kind of like
But then on top of that, Nicolas Cage, as the good guy,
yeah.
has to act like the bad guy.
Right,
when he's in
yeah,
prison,
that's-
so there's,
yeah.
like, another level on top of that.
And they have to like he has to like also at the same time like keep the bad guy's family safe. Remember that part where it's just like they're
Yeah,
coming in
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff because it's like he's still
Even though
a
he
good
totally
guy.
fails, because
Yeah.
they all die, but they, like everyone gets shot.
Yeah. They weren't his family.
No.
But if I were to get a tattoo on my face of them, it wouldn't be a face off. It would be a face on.
Ah!
Face. Face on face. But anyway.
I've been faced.
face space. Face space in my book. Okay. So mine is it's not two things, but it's a recommendation for a movie and actual like a music video for that movie. The movie's not actually out yet, but they have a trailer for it, and they also have like the music video.
Really?
Yeah, it's the music video is called True Survivor, and it's an actual song sung by David Hasselhoff. The movie is Kung Fury.
What?
Yeah, it's a Swedish martial arts comedy short written. Let's see here, by David Sandberg. He's not like related to like Andy Sandberg or anything.
Oh.
But it's like a 1980s martial arts police action film.
Is
but
it actually from the 80s?
No, it's like they're making
It's
it like
set in the 80s?
yeah, it's actually about to come out like this year.
Okay.
It was like crowdfunded like on Kickstarter and all this, and like a police detective and martial arts kung fury or time travels from 1980s to World War II to kill Adolf Hitler, aka Kung Fuhrer, and avenge his friend's death at the hands of the Nazi leader. An error in the time machine sends him further back to the Viking era. With the help of a female Viking and the Norse god Thor, Kung Fury continues his time travels in order to put an end to the Third Reich once and for all. Yeah. And then the music...
So they've already basically won
Yeah.
every Oscar.
In the music video, David Hasselhoff sings the entire thing, and it's so cool. It's a lot like any 80s song like
Nice.
out there. It's the music video is really cool because it's got like all kinds of stuff like, you know, post-apocalyptic like street gangs, and it's like Escape from New York, street gangs, and then it has like there's actually a part where like there's a dinosaur like walking around.
What?
Yeah. And like
That's so awesome.
and there's a part where he's fighting Nazis, and it shows like Adolf Hitler, and he's like, you know, super angry or whatever. But it's like it's really, really good. You have to like watch it. I'll put a link to it like under the video or whatever. But yeah,
I need to see that.
Kung
Sounds
Fury.
Great.
Sadly, I didn't get in on the like Kickstarter because I didn't know about it until afterwards. But it is, at least you'll know that it is coming out this year. So I'm sure that'll probably be huge on the internet just for the whole value of there's so many people out there that like 1980s movies and wish that they were still making them like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my recommendation. Matt's recommendation. So we've had the appetizer. We're going to move on to the main attraction. Or, well, the main meal wouldn't be the main. We've had our appetizers.
Wait, I'm still hungry.
Yeah.
I want to go to the attraction.
Let's go to the attraction. What about my main meal? Screw that. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and go on to... Now, I guess we kind of agreed that we're going to talk about just the ones that, like... Well, not talk, but we're going to do the whole segment, worst of the best, upon the movies that were, like, Jay and Silent Bob were in. And that's called, like, the whole Jersey trilogy, or... Well, it's not a trilogy anymore, but...
Yeah.
It was at one point, but then he kept making more of them. But we'll also leave room to talk about other movies he's made, like Tusk and stuff.
Yeah,
here.
I think there's a couple things we should definitely...
Because there's some other movies that aren't necessarily in this whole, like, trilogy, like, Mallrats 2, Clerks 3 that we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about, Jersey Girl. We're going to talk about... there's just so much other stuff Kevin Smith's been a part of that we're going to talk about, but the main part we're going to talk about is the main ones in his film Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy. These are all in when they came out too. So Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and then Clerks 2. These are all the ones that have been made.
The official series.
Yes, that starred Jay and Silent Bob, and then obviously if and when Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3 come out, those will also. Well, I would say have Jay and Silent Bob in them. So
we'll have to come back and do a special edition of this podcast.
Yeah, just like Kevin Smith does every 10 years. Or at least he used to. He used to do commentaries every 10 years for movies or so.
I thought you were going to say we could do like George Lucas does. Insert new sound effects, like a new character could pop up.
Yeah. It's a me! Jar Jar Mario?
Jar Jario?
Jar Jario Argento. It's a me. You're gonna die. I'm like, oh god. It's the House of Horrors. Okay, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to go? Do you want to straight up go best then worst, or do you want to just go? We'll talk about the movies each, and then we'll kind of tell each one of our.
I think we should do our worst and best, and then if there's any we don't hit, which mathematically there could be as many as 4.
True.
We'll hit those afterwards. You think?
I'm gonna hit them all. Knock them out. Ooh. Okay. Well, worst.
Why don't you start?
Okay.
Because you kind of were ahead of me in your Kevin Smith fandom.
Yeah.
I know you got into these movies a long time and kind of introduced me to them along the way. So
yeah, there were. I'm trying to remember.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, it's. I didn't get in on it when it first kind of came out. Like I think the people that really showed me the first Kevin Smith movie was like Kevin Brown and John Gardner showed me Mallrats, and I was like, oh, this movie's pretty sweet. And then I learned there were other movies, obviously by Kevin Smith, but that was like, years later looking into them and stuff, and that's kind of like DVD was around, so we're starting to get into those.
I know you had all the DVDs at some point, like right when they...
Yeah, I have like all the main ones and the anniversary editions and all that kind of stuff. It kind of stinks because I like the ones that are more in like the Jersey series with Jay and Silent Bob popping up, and I think the last one that he's done was Clerks 2, and that was 2006.
Yep.
The other ones, of course, he does a lot of this. He does a lot of podcasts. He does he does podcasts every day, I think. And he has multiple ones.
A lot of token.
Yeah. Yeah. And by that we mean smoking pot. That people don't know what token means. I'm sure they probably would.
Oh, I thought like he was like inserting tokens into like machines.
Maybe he's doing that too.
Skee-ball machines.
We don't want to rat out Kevin Smith. Nobody would know that he smokes.
Nice.
That's not like a dig on Kevin Smith. Okay, so I would say, and this is hard for me because once again, like last week when we were talking about George Romero, this is like somebody I really like everything they've done.
So you like all his movies? or all the movies in this series.
Right, yeah, like it's hard for me to really say there's a movie that I don't like. I mean, I know there are some people that'll be like, say like, oh, Clerks 2 is, just a cash grab, but I don't think that. I think it's a good movie. And it's actually, people will probably be surprised the one I pick, because it's gotten really good reviews across the board, and I really thought, the material that they talk about is very, it was very, at the time, it was kind of like people weren't really talking about it, I don't think, as much.
Right.
But I just kind of, I guess maybe I need to, watch it again to see if it's something that I am interested in. But at the time, and when I watched it again, it was kind of just so for me. It was not as entertaining as the other ones. Probably because the other ones had a little bit more humor and had a little bit more wackiness to them, and I like that. But, I think Chasing Amy is probably, my least favorite one he's made. But not... It's like I said, it's not because of the plot or anything. It's just because, it centers around Jason Lee's character and
Banky.
Yeah, and who is it? Not I was gonna say Matt Damon.
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Same thing.
Yeah, Ben Affleck and their comic book artists, and then Ben Affleck meets, I think it's Amy Adams, and he's like, oh, she's so great. I'm gonna ask her out, and then he finds out she's lesbian.
Right.
And but then they end up sleeping together anyway, and she's like, that was a mistake or whatever, and it was an interesting movie, and I thought it was cool to watch, but I just thought it was there weren't a lot of locations that I found entertaining in that movie.
Yeah.
And it was kind of but I don't know, it's hard for me because any movie with Jason Lee in it is very entertaining.
Yeah.
His scenes are always really good, and not saying that
definitely
Ben Affleck sucks or anything, but I think if it had been about Jason Lee more, I think I probably would have cared more. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing is I don't know. I also kind of have a so against that movie because Amy Adams is in it, and I had heard all this stuff kind of going down on set, how her and Kevin Smith were kind of together at one point, and then they kind of broke up,
right.
and they still had to finish the movie. So it was kind of I don't know if I feel that from watching it, kind of it being not as joyous as the other ones, but I think he said at one point that's one of his most dark movies because he was going through a very dark time in his life.
I can see that.
And you can tell because there's not, I don't really remember there being very many jokes. I think the only jokes are from Jason Lee's character. And and that's also I think the movie where you find out that his character is actually gay.
Right.
Jason Lee or whatever.
Right.
But yeah.
Huh?
I don't know.
Good choice.
You're my choices, all of them. Scorsese for life.
Well, I like all his movies too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love all his movies, but
right.
More than anything, I really respect all his movies, because they were kind of groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah.
And they're, for the most part, pretty original. I mean, they kind of talk about the same stuff from movie to movie.
Right.
But he's always changing something up major, from one movie to the next. And I think every single one of these movies is super entertaining. There's not a boring moment in any of them. So it's kind of hard to pick a worst. But
if you had
it's our job.
It's our job.
We didn't make these rules, but we have to follow them. So my worst is actually going to be Clerks.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I had to pick one.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was the most groundbreaking and probably the one he'll be most remembered for.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that each one got
Better.
slightly better and took the series in a different direction each time.
Yeah.
So that's what I always think about is oh, the next one is totally different and just as wacky. So if I had to pick one, it's the original Clerks, even though it's the most classic of all his movies.
Well, I just said that I didn't like Chasing Amy as much, and
that's true.
I'm sure some people will be like, "You idiot." They'll say it like that too, not knowing what they were going to say after you.
Yeah. So, do you have any thoughts on that one?
On Clerks? Yeah, I have a lot to say about Clerks. I think, if anything, that movie kind of holds a special place to me because I actually work a retail job. So, even though I can totally see it's very straightforward. And it's very independent. When you watch the movie, you're like, this is very independent.
It's the quintessential independent movie.
And I just know like the characters seemed like really real. There are a lot of like scenes in it, that are funny, but it's not like in the later movies where the scenes are funny, but there's like musical cues, kind of like yeah. It's like the dry wit and like the conversation between Dante and Randall are like kind of what definitely gets you through that movie.
Oh yeah, they made tons of Star Wars references.
Yeah,
that was like revolutionary at the time. That was the first movie that ever really did that.
Right, that kind of actually talked about it and
Pop
just
culture.
brought it up and stuff and kind of been like, what about this? And I was like, wow, I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
It's like
there's still people like, that's more normal now.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that one. I don't know. There's. I know that like there was an alternate ending to that one where like you've heard about this.
It was
or?
like the dark ending.
Yeah, it was the first ending where like they ended up changing it because like I guess the people that were going to distribute it were like, yeah, you need to change that ending so it was super dark. Like earlier in the movie, Randall's like, I don't like that the video camera like watches us, so he unplugs it, and then later on in the like at the very end of the movie, some guy comes in, like you never see who it is, but you just see like his feet, and he like pulls up a gun and then like kills Dante for the like $2 that are in the register and like runs out, and then of course never find him because the video camera is off. And that was the original ending, but the actual ending is I think it's like something where like Randall leaves doing some like cowboy walk or something, which is way different. But
do you think that would have been better?
It would have been like a lot more shocking, obviously, and it would have it might have even like sent things on a different perspective for like Kevin Smith, because he would have, people might have known him more so for like kind of like how M. Night Shyamalan became like the twist ending guy. Like he might have been like, oh, he's got like gory, or just like that's very dark. Like he might be like the dark comedy guy, but. I don't know. Looking back on that, when I've seen that after I've seen the original ending or the other ending they made, I don't really like it as much. Like it's very dark and it's sad to think that like obviously that happens, but like in a movie where you're trying to like escape reality, something so real comes into it. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean it would have been a gutsy move.
Yeah.
But like some movies. A dark ending like that makes sense, but Clerks, I don't know.
Clerks was just so like there were so many quirky and fun things that happened in that movie that just have an ending like that was almost kind of like holy crap. Like it just kind of puts like the brakes on everything. So I don't know. I don't like it specifically.
Yeah,
that alternative ending.
Well, I don't have many criticisms of it. I mean, I know I said it was the worst, but I still like it.
Well, we need to actually get a series in here that sucks so that we can actually do... Because we have the flip side of this that we have yet to do called Best of the Worst. We've just been doing Worst of the Best because so far we've picked 2 franchises that are good, so we need to pick...
I can't wait for the Troll franchise. It's going to be great.
How many are there?
I think just 2.
2 movies.
But they're both amazing. Really bad.
I want to do like... We should do like the Nightmare on Elm Street or like...
Yeah.
I'm like, all of them are the worst.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure people are going to shoot us for saying both of them.
Well, I just said Clerks was the worst. I'm a dead man.
That's okay. No one knows where you live except for me, and I won't rat you out under torture.
Put your gun away.
Bam! You're dead. Okay, so Clerks, if people haven't seen it, it's about Dante and Randall. They mess around in a convenience store all day long, and Dante wasn't supposed to be there today because he was off, and they called him and were like, hey, come in. Pretty much it's happened to everybody at least once in their life, and that's probably what was so interesting is it's just a movie about, like, you working a crap job that you hate, and the customers are like shit. Yeah.
I think another thing about it is the story of the making of the movie is probably more entertaining than the actual movie itself. Because, like, Kevin Smith maxed out all his credit cards to, like, scrape up enough money to make an ultra low budget movie. And
I think they, like, since that was like a mom and pop place, didn't they, like, they could go in there whenever they wanted and sleep there, and it's like that's the kind of stuff that you don't really get to do
Right.
anymore.
Right. He put his last dollar into it.
Yeah.
And it was a huge gamble, and it paid off.
And he fucked up because now
Now he's a huge stunner.
Now he's screwed.
Yeah, he's so rich.
He has no money.
Yeah.
Wait.
Blew it.
Shut.
Because how rich you are is a measure of how good of a person.
Yeah, that's the measure of a man. Okay, so we went from what we decided as the worst, but not bad movies, just the worst the best. I don't know.
On to the best.
On to the best. Let's see here. Mine's still a
Your
toss-up.
favorite.
It's hard for me because this is...
Well, unfortunately, in the Matt and Mike podcast bylaws, it says you have to pick one.
crap. I shouldn't have signed that contract.
You shouldn't have.
Blindfolded.
In blood.
In,
I tried to give you a pen. And
in
you
my
wouldn't
own
take
blood. That's I bled to death. Okay. Oh, jeez. This is hard, man. Like, especially since I couldn't really decide.
You gotta do your homework.
I gotta do my...
Yeah. Sometimes in life you have to make hard choices.
Yeah.
This is one of those times.
I know. Oh, man. Super salad. Let's
And
see
the worst
here.
part is,
What?
once you make this decision, you
It
can
cannot
never go back on it.
You will never retire. Never be forgotten. Oh, jeez. I don't know. I mean, okay, I like Mallrats a lot.
Yeah? Is that your best? Or are you just stalling for more time?
Stalling?
Yeah.
What is that, Matt? Can you look it up on the internet and tell me the exact definition of stalling?
Yeah, okay, looking it up right now.
Let's see here.
What Mike is doing right now,
No!
according to Webster.
I've been called out on my own shit. No.
According to the character Webster.
Originally, I had Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as my favorite.
I was hoping you would.
Yeah, and it's weird because like I think the only reason why I have that on there is honestly I think it's probably one of the cheesiest movies he has, and I
Like
could put Mallrats and Clerks 2 above it, but a reason why I really like it is because it does something that I'm a sucker for, and it brings every character from that universe into one movie.
Right.
And it's hard for me to like, because we used to do that all the time, like in our movies. Like we would have like someone that, of course we wouldn't have multiple people, so we would have one person play multiple roles, and they would be, and then we would make a movie where like, oh, this person's this person in this movie, and they're all together, and I was like, oh.
It's definitely
That's
the
cool.
one we've watched the most times. Or
Yeah.
I've watched the most times.
You
We
watched
used
me
to watch
watching
this all
it the
time
most
back-
times. I'm watching it, and you're just like, yes, he's enjoying it. But yeah, this one's pretty much, Jay and Silent Bob. They're not huge parts of every movie, but they're in small parts here and there. But they're usually the comic relief, or they have some scheme, that they're up to. They are sellers of drugs, if you will. I don't think it's anything super hard. I've only really ever seen them sell maybe like marijuana and some other stuff. I mean, it's not like, hey, why don't you do some heroin?
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. But I know that in this one, like so this one, pretty much from Chasing Amy, the two comic book artists they make a comic called Bluntman and Chronic based on Jay and Silent Bob. Now, when I think it's Holden, Ben Affleck's character, he sells the rights to Banky, and Banky gets option to make the movie, but he doesn't give any money to Jay and Silent Bob, and they find out about this after they get kicked off the Quick Stop premises for selling drugs finally. And
Loitering.
yeah, so then they find out about this from Holden. And when they find out about it, they're not pissed that they're not getting paid. They're pissed that people are talking shit about Bluntman and Chronic, which they think are actually people are specifically talking shit about Jay and Silent Bob. So then
On
they
the internet.
Yeah, so then they go on like they want to get the movie shut down for that reason. And he's like, if you get it shut down, you won't make any money. He's like, I don't give a shit. People are talking crap about us, and they can't do that. It's one of the
It's fun. There's
the
some
most
really funny
ridiculous
stuff.
plot, but there's so many funny things that happens. And they have a lot of
Just
like
going to people's house, like tracking down
Yeah.
people who specifically said something on the internet and like punching a kid
Yeah.
in the face or like beating up some kid.
that whole like idea of just them not understanding that like if they can't stop people from talking shit about them
They
on
put
the
their
internet.
own pride over like
Yeah, getting billions of dollars.
right, just because they're too dumb to understand.
Yeah. He's like, screw that. People are talking crap about us. He's like, people aren't going to stop talking crap about you unless they're not making the movie. And he's like, that's it. We're going to go to Hollywood and stop this movie from ever getting made, Silent Bob. And he's like, you don't understand. You could forgo getting billions of dollars if you did that. He's like, okay, we're going to go to California. He just doesn't listen to him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's a road movie and they meet all kinds of wacky characters
Yeah.
along the way.
My only thing is I could probably do without like the women in that movie. That was kind
Yeah.
of like the boring part.
I think that's why I didn't pick this as my favorite
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things about this movie like they could have taken out. There's like
Yeah.
a few jokes that don't quite
yeah,
make it
like what Will Ferrell as like
Yeah.
the park ranger or whatever is really funny. His stuff like he doesn't get that he's like overstepping his bounds and he's like a total idiot. Like that kind of works for me.
Yeah, I think he's pretty funny.
They could kind of get rid of like the jewel heist thing was fine, but it kind of went on for too long, and they had the whole thing where like the women were like the evil version of Charlie's Angels or something, and it was like
Yeah,
I didn't really care for that.
No.
It was like
didn't either.
who cares? The chick that likes Jay was fine. Like she could have stayed in the movie
Yeah.
because like she was the only character on that team that wasn't like a total piece of crap.
Right.
And like I don't know, I'm trying to think like what are other things I'm trying to think
Well,
of other
I
things
think the best.
They had
part
George
of it,
Carlin in that,
George
which was
Carlin's in
cool.
it, yeah. The best part is the Reindeer Games 2
Oh yeah.
parody that they or not parody, but the movie.
Right.
You know, they're making a sequel.
He's like, you're not as
They're not reindeer.
it's
Will Hunting.
yeah,
to
he's like
Reindeer Games.
you're not as you're actually not as smart as you were years ago when I actually he's like I've read of stuff you've not even heard of yet. He's like, what are you gonna do about that? It's like applesauce, bitch. He like kills him with a shotgun. It's like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Good Will Hunting too.
Yeah.
Not I don't know why I said Reindeer Games.
Reindeer Games too. Goodwill Hunting. But yeah, there's some really good like
It's hunting season.
Yeah. Yeah, there were
That
like
cracks me up.
some good like cameos and stuff, and they get onto
Oh, yeah.
a lot. But
Tracy Morgan.
yeah,
Show me the map, Scott.
it's like
And there's a monkey in
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
What more
it's
do you
cool. I'm like,
The cops think the monkey is a kid.
yeah,
They pretend the monkey
yeah.
is their son. Or
Like, see, the only person that thinks that is Will Ferrell.
Right.
He's like, you and your weird love child can go on their way, sirs, because he thinks they're like homosexuals or whatever. Because like Jay, what does he say? He's like, I'm gay, you know, with them sometimes, but not all the way. Sometimes I'm straight, so they can make this child. Huh? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, I guess he could have said he was bi.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm bi, but he's all the way gay.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you have to say that? What does it matter?
There's a lot of funny stuff in
yeah.
the movie.
I'm trying to think. There was like another thing that I was thinking of in that movie that's like really funny. That's it's like, oh man, I totally blanked on it now. It's like it happens after all that where they go to the studio.
Well, Mark Hamill,
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Where they come.
one of his greatest
Yeah.
roles.
Hey kids, it's Mark Hamill.
Actually, it might be his greatest. I can't think of any other that would be better.
Joker.
Oh yeah, Joker.
Yeah. I mean, he was like he was Han. He was Luke Skywalker.
What?
But who the fuck is that?
I don't know. Never heard of him.
Well, like Fuke Skywalker. Nah, just kidding.
Oh, thanks.
But I
close
thought you were true. But yeah,
He's great in this movie
is
as the cock knocker.
yeah. Why do they call you the cock knocker? Well, it's a funny story actually, and he just punches him in the balls. He's like, "Avenge me!" Yeah, it's
Good stuff.
I think that one would have to be like definitely like my comedy choice. If I had to go with one that I would actually say is like a favorite, like you know, not because like I think there was a part.
Well, you did have to go with one that was your favorite.
I know,
and you
and I
chose.
fucked up. Jay and Silent Bob, I think, is where they start going straight comedy. Like Jay and Silent Bob, and then after that is like Clerks.
Right.
But like before that, I have to say Mallrats.
Yep.
I don't know. It's hard because
That's the one I've seen the least. I think I've only
Really?
seen it the one time.
Well, let's do this. What's your favorite, Matt? Because I've been gabbing.
Hey, that's what it's all about.
You're like, actually, my favorite is.
My favorite is, and it only took us 3 episodes, where one of our worst is also one of our best. Because my best is Chasing Amy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah, believe it or not, my hipster choice. But I think I'd seen all of them up to that point, and Chasing Amy was the last one I saw.
Mm.
And it was like so much different
You know,
and like, yeah, more like serious.
it is very.
I was
serious,
blown
yeah.
away. It's like, man, Kevin Smith, the guy that did Jay and Silent Bob,
Yeah.
Cop Knocker jokes, also did, you know,
Yeah.
a movie with some meaning behind it. It's like,
There was all kinds of me.
I think there's meaning in all of them, but maybe Chasing Amy was
It's not
like,
what Bob Ming was.
the, the Mystery Machine was real.
Yeah. I don't know what that shit was about.
Yeah,
Just-
but yeah, I'm pretty impressed by that movie. I don't think I'd ever heard like that much filthy dialogue like in a real movie. Like now it's normal. But,
Yeah.
you know, 20 years ago
It's a real movie, man.
it was a real movie. Like I thought it was gonna be me chasing after someone. Turns out it's just a movie.
In the theater.
Yeah.
Get back here. Oh.
Like 1 ticket for Chasing Amy, please. This isn't what I thought at all.
It's really grotesque.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think that's
You're like all that's what Mike said earlier. Just rewind the footage and say instead
didn't
of dislike, say like.
right. You didn't really say anything bad about it though.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you said the stuff about it that's good.
Yeah, I couldn't really think of anything bad to say about the movie. Like, it was really just like Amy Adams kind of rubbed me a little bit wrong.
I can see that.
but
She was pretty.
not
I
like
don't know what the word
not
is.
her character. It was just I think
Well, her
maybe
character was
knowing
kinda trashy,
yeah,
you know?
knowing the what had happened between her and. But there are two sides of every story. I mean, like even Kevin Smith doesn't like talk bad about her. I don't think it's just.
Yeah, that really doesn't bother me. I think, you know,
I'm like Matt.
seems like a.
I'm pissed at
realistic
things
character.
that didn't happen to me. I'm going to
So
blame
did
that
I.
movie for something that didn't happen to me but happened to Kevin Smith, and he's not pissed about it.
But I am.
Bullshit.
About
I'm going to stand up for your rights, Kevin Smith. You have billions of dollars, and you're got a happy family.
You're gonna fight for Kevin Smith's right.
I am. To smoke dope, I guess, and film movies,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah, for me, that's the one. I almost picked Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back too, just because that's the funniest.
Was it a
one.
sequel? Oh my god.
Breaking news.
Damn, man. Jay and Silent Strike Back, Return of the Bob and Jay. So,
All right,
maybe we'll hear
we did it.
Jason Mewes talk about, or say Sirs, because he started doing that.
Yeah,
I don't think in the last movie, Clerks 2, he didn't say it, I don't think.
Sirs.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and he says it all the time now. Like, when we saw him at Horror Hound, he's like, yes, sirs. And it's so weird. I'd never heard him say it before, but he also said it in the Jay and Silent Bob groovy cartoon movie.
Right.
Have you seen that before?
I started watching it and
It's so
it was
ridiculous.
I made it like 15
There was all these like weird like superhero like origin story things that they just like pass over, and then like because like it's supposed to be the origin of how they became like Jay and Silent or like Bluntman and Chronic, and they just like pass over all these different ways of being superheroes, like a spider, a genetic spider, and then like
Yeah.
Jay like crushes it. He's like, "This is a disgusting spider. This place needs cleaned up, sirs." But yeah. Anyway, off another.
I've listened
tangent.
to a lot of their podcasts and he says that shit all the time.
Yeah, it's really
And
funny
Kevin
because
Smith always says and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I was walking down the street and shit like that, and then I talked to this guy and shit like that, and he told me, "Hey," and shit like that. Dude,
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Oh god. So, I guess we'll talk about the other movies too, because we've talked about Chasing Amy, we've talked about Clerks, Jay and Silent Strike Back. Jay and Silent Strike Back. Silent Bub. And, okay, so we still have not talked about Mallrats, Dogma, or Clerks 2 to a certain extent. So I guess we'll go ahead and talk about Mallrats. That movie's got Michael Rooker in it, and Jason Lee. Most people probably, when they watched it, I mean, obviously back then he was just whatever. I mean, he's just another actor. Now he's like...
Michael Rooker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's been in a ton of big stuff.
I knew him from Cliffhanger.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that movie before that, but...
He's the guy from Cliffhanger.
But, like, he's, he's been in a lot of stuff now looking back on it, but, like, probably one of the biggest things he'd done was, he's Merlin in The Walking Dead, and now he's, like, Yondu and,
yeah, he was, like, at the top
Guardians
of his game.
of the Galaxy, so...
Top of his fame.
That just goes to show it's never too late for you to become the next Guardian.
Actually, I think it might be for me.
Why?
I don't know how to act. I never learned.
Shit. This podcast is over because Matt did not learn how to act. Matt, that's what you're supposed to learn how to do in the 2 years since I've seen you last. So...
Spent the whole time at Chipotle.
Speaking of which... So... How about I just say so? That'll be my catchphrase, is saying so.
So cast.
And I'll also be like. I think I do that like, and I say cool. So,
cool.
Like cool so.
So, like, cool.
SoCal low. Yeah, that movie is both Jason Lee and the other guy that's in it. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, if you've ever seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Keanu Reeves and the other guy. Not to say the
Keanu
other
Reeves
guys.
and Bill.
Yeah. Bill S. Preston and Keanu Reeves Logan. But Mallrats, both of those characters that got dumped by their girlfriends on the same day, and then they decide to just go to the shopping mall, and then a bunch of stuff goes down. It's a pretty sweet movie. There's obviously a cameo by Jay and Silent Bob, and they get into some wacky shenanigans.
Right. Introduce the world to the stink finger.
Yeah. And chocolate
memorable.
covered pretzels.
Right.
And I think that was the... Let me see here.
Which is still one of the more gross things I've ever seen in a movie.
This also started a trend where Brian O'Halloran made a reprising role as not Dante, but his cousin, like something that looked exactly like him. Like, I forgot, his last name was like Hicks too, but he was like a cousin or something.
Yeah.
And then he also reappeared as like a reporter in Dogma, and he was also in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Clerks 2. There might have been a part where he was in Chasing Amy, but I don't remember it exactly. Brian O'Halloran. Like, he might have had like a small
I
role.
just watched it, but I may have missed it.
Yeah. That might have been the only one, but I guess besides Jay and Silent Bob, Brian O'Halloran's been in all the other ones too, so.
Right.
Which I met him, and he was a really nice guy.
I met him.
He was a really nice guy.
That's cool.
Yeah. But, what was I going to say? Okay, so Mallrats, what do you think?
I've only seen it the one time, but it was the first Kevin Smith movie I ever saw.
And you just absolutely hated it, right?
No, I liked it.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Cool.
But really, I mean, the stuff that sticks with me is the chocolate covered pretzels. Like, that's the one thing I always.
I know they had
does Kevin Smith call a girl a bastard? Or in the mall, one of the characters calls a little girl
like
a
off screen.
bastard. Well, yeah.
It's actually just him as the director calling some girl a bastard. He's like, bastard.
No, they're looking at the Magic Eye posters. And the little girl's like, you can't see it? And he's like, shut up, you bastard.
Oh, I think that was maybe... It was like... It was the one bigger guy is like William something.
Yeah.
And he was like looking at it the whole time. And at the end, she like said what it was or something. And he like flipped out.
A totally 90s movie.
Yeah.
They're looking at Magic Eyes.
Yeah. And it's like... But... what was I going to say? I totally forgot.
I liked it.
Cool.
I thought it was funny. And
it
was good.
There were, I think, a couple different protagonists in that movie. I think that means bad guy. Because antagonist is the good guy, right?
I think it's backwards.
Okay.
I'll just have to look it up.
Let's just say that the bad guys were one of the person's dads, which was like, oh God, it was Michael Rooker. Remember,
Right.
like the guy, the bald guy.
Yep.
And then they had the mall security, which was Jane Silent Bob's, like the Force or whatever. That was like Jane Silent Bob's like bad guys in that movie. Because they kept doing these like Wile E. Coyote plans to
Right.
like help him out, like
Let's draw up the schematics.
destroy the stage, and like he kept like screwing them. And then they had Ben Affleck as a character who wanted to have anal sex with one of the characters. I think it was Jason Lee's ex that he was trying to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he had two. No, it was the other guy that wasn't Jason Lee went on that dating show. And I think they were trying to have him be like the main guy, but it didn't really work out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody was like, "Oh, Jason Lee's more, charismatic."
Right.
He's also an ex-skater,
That he is.
and his biggest role, Alvin and the Chipmunks, as Dave Seville. Alvin. Okay, so there's not much more to
This
say
makes me sad
about.
to think
I mean,
about.
this very '90s. That movie was very '90s.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Clerks was '90s as well. Mallrats, Chasing Amy, '97. Dogma was '99, but that movie is not. It doesn't seem like it was made in the '90s because that was the very end of the '90s, and I
Yeah,
think a lot of
and-
that they were kind of not.
It was so crazy. It really doesn't get bogged down in the time period.
Right.
Because it's biblical.
It's a biblical fest of brotherhood. But so yeah, Mallrats. There was a lot of fun stuff that happened in that movie. I guess that's why Kevin Smith is planning a sequel, and he's also planning a Clerks 3. So
Hey,
I guess return to what you had fun doing.
right?
I guess you can't really make a Chasing Amy 2 or like a Dogma 2. I mean, I
I'm
guess-
sure he'll try.
Yeah, I guess you could if you really wanted to.
Didn't he say he was
Um,
going to retire like 5 or 6 years ago?
He said that like before he made like James on the Bob Strike Back, I
Right.
think.
10
But
movies ago.
I mean, I guess I'd rather have him make movies. Some
Me
people
too,
are
for
like,
sure.
I don't know. There are some people out there that are like, he needs to stop, and Clerks 2 was crap, and like I'm just like, whatever, man. It was awesome.
I agree.
But
I'm with you.
yeah, so we're gonna move on to Dogma. This is probably one of the most controversial movies he like made. I think it is the most controversial movie he made.
Well, anything that has anything to do with religion,
Yeah,
is always people get all upset about it.
yeah. Here's the synopsis for this movie, or not synopsis, the rundown. 'Cause the synopsis is what happened in the movie.
Just read the script.
I'm like, first of all, scene 1. It is I, the Lord, and ye shall findeth. That's it. So this one is about abortion clinic worker with a. I might have missed some actual. I've become a caveman. Abortion clinic worker with special heritage, and I'm doing something horrible here. I'm being mean against cavemen. An abortion clinic worker with a special heritage is enlisted to prevent two angels from re-entering heaven and thus undoing the fabric of the universe. Along the way, she is aided by two prophets, Jane Silent Bob, with the help of Rufus, the 13th apostle, which I think that was Chris Rock, right?
Sounds right.
Because it wasn't Chris Tucker, that's for sure.
No.
Jamon Lee! With the help of... Okay, they must stop those who stand in their way and prevent the angels from entering heaven. This movie was pretty, like, gory, too. Because I remember there were parts where, like, they went into, like, this board meeting and, like, Matt Damon goes around the table and, like, talks to all these people. And, like, he knows all their secrets. And, like, there's this part where apparently, like, he's like, yeah, your son committed suicide and, he was gay and you just disowned him, and like the guy starts crying and he's like, everyone here is spared, or no, everyone here deserves judgment, and he like starts killing them, and then like he's like lets one person go or something. But like he's like, you didn't say bless you when I sneezed, and then I can't remember if he kills her or if he lets her go. I think he might have let her go. I can't remember.
That's the thing. Like here was this Kevin Smith movie has lots of violence in it. Like,
Yeah.
he's always doing something new
Right.
with every movie. So, and Dogma's maybe the wildest and wackiest of all of them.
Wah. But like they have, first off the bat, I mean, abortion clinic worker, so that's pretty controversial. And then they've got, it's about religion and they change a bunch of the stuff. Like God ends up being like a woman.
Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, which was kind of weird.
It's very weird.
That was very right. It was on the up and up. Ooh, but let's see what else. I'm trying to think. There's so many things that happen in that movie. I mean, they have like the shit monster comes out of a toilet and kills all these people, like in a strip club.
Says it all right there.
Selma Hayek is working as a stripper, and she's like a muse from like biblical times. Jason Lee is in it as like a demon, and he like didn't choose sides, and now everybody thinks he's like a piece of crap. I'm trying to think. Like, there's a bunch of other stuff. Alan Rickman's in it. That's always a plus.
Mm-hmm. It's a crazy movie.
Yeah. These like skater people keep trying to show up to like hurt, like to kill the girl because she's the only one that can like stop them or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I guess she's like one of the descendants of Christ. Because like Christ, it's kind of like that whole thing they have where what was it? The blood of Christ is the actual Holy Grail, not an actual Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is that, you know, there's a thing that Jesus Christ actually had a child or children with Mary Magdalene before he died, and that like special bloodline was passed on, you know, down the line and stuff, and that's what pretty much the movie has, that whole thing where it was like, so that right away is like very controversial. And then they also have like all this other stuff where they're like, you know, angels and demons, you know, and all this, just all this other stuff, gods of woman, that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think of, I mean, it's pretty much controversial,
yeah,
all over the place, but I thought it was a pretty funny movie. I mean, it's very like Matt Damon and God, man, Ben Affleck, I keep forgetting him. Our
Batman.
Yeah. God, why? Well, no, he could be good. I don't know. We'll go off on. I just have to save that one for another one. The Batman trailer. My God, I'm sure a lot of people out there were like, "Man, that looks great," and I'm just like, I don't know. We'll see. I just think DC doesn't know what the fuck they're doing right now. Like, I love DC more than I love Marvel, but I think they're just like their TV. Like, 2 of their TV shows are good, but the rest of their shit's just crap. Like, their movies lately have been poop. But anyway, okay, back to Dogma. Do you have anything else to say about Dogma? I've kind of said a lot, but I didn't know if there's anything else you wanted to say. It's not like it's an unforgettable movie. It's just there's only so much you can kind of say.
There's a really good Alanis Morissette song during the end credits that I like. But I like all of her songs.
So it's not about Joey.
Yeah. Gladstone.
Cut it out. Yeah, baby. Okay, so we're going to talk now about Clerks 2. The only sequel as of yet. Well, Jay and Silent Bob, I guess, is a sequel, but this is the only direct sequel to a movie he's made.
Right.
But it will not be the last, I can assure you.
Yeah.
So
surprisingly good.
Yeah,
and
it was actually
end of the series.
Really good. Until years later, in a remote base, one man found underneath the Ark of the Covenant Clerks 2. Wait, Clerks 3 and Mallrats 3. Shut! I fucked up. Okay, so this one supposedly, you know, it takes place. It says 10 years later. I mean, I guess it's they don't have to lie about the time because this was not like. It's not like they were like, in the year 1997, New York is a maximum security prison.
Because then they would be ripping off
Escape from New York.
John Carpenter would sue them.
Yeah.
For cigarettes.
Or he would, like, sue them for, just so they can make a sequel. And he won't have to get paid to make a money. I mean, what? Damn it! I mean, movie. Stop. You're getting paid to make a money.
Make a money.
If only I could get paid to make a money. Then I would be totally... That was like a bad translation. But, you know, it takes place 10 years later. Dante and, like Randall, they still work at, like, the Quick Stop.
They're finally grown up now.
Yes.
Or are they?
Yeah. And, like, they arrive and, like, the place is burnt down. And pretty much they have to go find a job somewhere else. So they go to, like, Movies, which was in... Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and in Dogma, it's like their version of McDonald's.
Right.
And like pretty much he's in another job that's kind of the same deal, but then he almost leaves and goes to Florida with like his new fiance or whatever, and then he kind of like Randall's pissed off because even though he always like rips on Dante, that's like his best friend. So then they get to the part where pretty much he's like, do I really want to go or not?
Right.
So
Because
like
decision.
yeah, because like there's like a chick he's working with that he finds out he actually like really likes, and I think he ends up like proposing to her or something at the end of the movie or something.
He does kind of finally grow up at the end.
But I think at the end of that movie, don't they have a thing where like Jay and Silent Bob, because they get all this money from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back from the comic book money or whatever, they end up like buying like another Quick Stop for James for Randall and Dante to work at. So I'm guessing that's what Clerks 3 is going to be about, is them working at the place that Jay and Silent Bob own, so that they can stand out front and just hang out, because they don't even have to sell drugs anymore because they have like billions of dollars. So but yeah, I guess we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, going on to Clerks 3 already. This is Clerks 2, the sequel, or it's a prequel to Clerks 3. I guess it is. Both. So what did you think about Clerks 2? I mean, I think there were a lot of funny parts in that movie.
Well, for whatever reason, I didn't expect it to be, oh, it's a sequel to Clerks. It's a total cash grab.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it was.
Clerks was, made in 1994, so this is not 10 years later. This is 12 years later. So good job. You fucked up.
We're calling you out.
We're calling you out on the shit that you wrote. But Clerks 2, I think a lot of people probably were like, really, Clerks 2? That's kind of like, why would you do that? But I thought it was, I was excited because I'm a huge, like, Kevin Smith fan, so I was like, whatever you make, I'm going to go see it, because I had. But when I saw it in theaters, I was, like, surprised. I was like, this is actually really funny, and, like, it was, once again, I think Kevin Smith is one of the greatest dialogue writers.
Oh, yeah. That's all his movies are, just wall-to-wall dialogue.
Yeah, and it's somehow he gets away with it, like, without it being boring, because a lot of the dialogue is actually interesting. It's like it's not fake either. It doesn't seem like people are just delivering lines. Like, yeah.
And it introduced me to the term donkey show.
Yeah. Which was not shown. Yes. I want a refund.
We're calling you out.
Yeah, I don't want a refund. I want to pay twice to not be able to see a donkey show. I can only imagine what that is.
Yeah, Clerks 2, I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, you think so, eh? So, yeah, it was, it wasn't just, because I don't really like the term cash grab, because a lot of times when they go for that kind of stuff, how much money do they really make from...
Yeah. Well, and this definitely was not. It tried to kind of wrap up the story.
Right. But I think because of like how much the fans love the stuff he does, and like just how much he likes making movies, like that's why Clerks 2 and Clerks 3 are going to be made. And I'm glad that he's going to keep making movies, and he's not just going to stop and be like, because he went on to do some other ones I think that he wasn't so like proud to do after a while. Like I know he did Cop Out, and like he said how he was really excited to work with Bruce Willis after he was in Die Hard 4, and things didn't turn out. Tracy Morgan, was a professional. He was awesome, but then for Bruce Willis, just kind of like it's like he met one of his heroes, and it just kind of became like just ridiculous to work with him, from what I heard.
Yeah. Did you ever see Cop Out?
Mm-mm. That's one of the only Kevin Smith movies I haven't seen.
It's the only Kevin Smith movie I don't like. It's not. It's unwatchable.
But
I have to give him credit, because like he tried a new challenge. I'll direct something I didn't write.
Right.
And see how it works out.
Yeah.
Didn't work out too hot, but he tried.
He just needs to write and direct everything he makes, because he's so good at it.
Yes. Not
many people can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, as small as his scenes are, when he's Silent Bob, a lot of the times, he has the whole, like, mime thing down pat, which is cool with Silent Bob where he doesn't say words, except for there are certain times I think in Dogma he gives a speech, and then
Right.
like Jane Silent Bob, he's like, the back of the bus said Animals of Hollywood, you dumb fuck. He's like, say it, don't spray it. Oh,
That's
God.
great.
But-
Sign.
Yeah. The back. Yeah. But like his I don't know, he's just really good at that kind of thing. And
Yeah, agree.
Jason Mewes has gotten a lot better at acting over the years. Like, oh my gosh, like he's in stuff that, you know, I don't know, I just think I always thought he was like good, but it was also one of those things where it's like, you know, hey, he's in the movie because he's friends with, you know.
Yeah, and he's basically playing himself.
Right, but I think he's become a lot more like, what's the word, like confident and stuff, and kind of can get out there and do stuff that he normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so Clerks 2, you know, I thought it was good. I'm excited if they actually get around to making Clerks 3, because even though that was, you know, you could stop it there and be like, that's it. Like, I'm kind of like that person that's like, hey, where's Austin Powers 4? Where's, you know,
Right.
you know, the next one? Because even though they do leave them off on like, hey, this is the end, there's also that possibility of like,
Yeah.
you want to see more because
Even if it's bad,
right,
you know, it's better than nothing.
yeah, that's true.
Except for Cop Out.
Yeah, well, that
It was
wasn't
not
like a
better than
sequel.
nothing.
It was just kind of a, and he didn't even write that.
Yeah.
He directed it, and I think it's harder sometimes to be like a director for something you're coming in on that's like written already, because you can't really. Not only do you have to work with the actors, you have to kind of like work with what you have.
Right.
But anyway, so Clerks 2, great movie if you haven't seen it, and you think it's just a cash in. Well, fuck you.
You're wrong.
Yeah, you're dead wrong. You should go.
Your
to,
opinion doesn't
yeah.
matter.
What are you, a clerk? I don't know what that means. I guess I'm a clerk.
More like a jerk.
Oh, yeah.
Jerks too.
Jerks, Jerky Boys. Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3. That has been talked about by Kevin Smith on his podcast. There have also been other things he's talked about on his podcast that actually did come to fruition. Tusk being one of them, and then the
Yeah.
sequels or other movies, which were
Moose
Moose
Jaws.
Jaws and it was like something Hosers, like
Yeah. Yoga hosers.
yoga hosers. So something Canadian there. But Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3 are probably the ones that I'm looking forward to. And
I think I'm looking forward to Moose Jaws more than any other movie.
I don't even
It's a remake of Jaws
like with a moose,
with a moose instead of a shark.
which doesn't make any sense because mooses
Or
can't
does
go
it
in the
make
water.
too much sense?
No, it makes none.
Oh yeah.
Is there a
Shit.
synopsis for it already?
What? It's a remake of Jaws with a killer moose.
In the water?
I
I don't get it.
well, I don't think it's a.
I don't get it. I don't get how knowing how the moose is going to attack is helpful to us, Matt.
They're gonna
and not
take-
to and everyone else will know our strategy. Like why the moose isn't here doesn't matter. But
He's gonna take the movie Jaws.
I was just kidding.
He's gonna cut out the image of the shark and paste in the image of a moose. It's gonna be great.
That would be shit, actually. That face was so weird. No, I'm actually looking forward to that one too. I was gonna say out of the ones that he's making besides those two, it would be that one.
Yeah.
If he ends up making any of these movies at all, and they weren't just him high.
Yeah. He made Tusk.
Yeah. Kind of surprised
Which
that
may
he
be the
actually
biggest joke of them all.
followed through on that one. But I guess now we talk about that. You want to move on to that? Just talk a little bit about that movie.
Yeah. I loved it, but I think I loved the idea of it more than the actual movie.
Of what
'cause-
happened?
Yeah. Well, like, I've always wanted to see a movie that was basically a joke. So, like,
Yeah.
okay, so when I was a lot younger, you know, we used to go to movies. My family used to go to lots of movies, and I think it was like some crappy, you know, Father of the Bride 2 or something.
Even
I was-
Steve Barton.
Yeah. I remember going to see that movie and just like being so bored and hating every second because I was like young,
Yeah.
a little kid, and like, wouldn't it be cool if at the end of this movie like Schwarzenegger just came in and blew everyone away, or like
Yeah.
aliens came down, like,
Yeah.
but they would never make a movie like that because no one would go to see it, and no one would put up the money to pay for it.
Right. Because, like, if you were to make a movie that was, like, aimed at, like, romantic comedies, and then at
Right.
the end it turned out to be for
A
action
bloodbath.
people, then like, the people that would see the movie would feel like they were screwed over,
Yep.
and the people that wanted the action wouldn't be there to see it.
Right, but it would just be crazy. So I've
Yeah.
always had that in my mind, and then I think the closest thing we've got to that is Tusk,
Yeah.
because it's basic. I mean, it's not like that, but it's kind of a joke.
There is no Steve Martin in this movie, sadly.
No,
From what is Matt is saying.
Father of the Bride 3, Tusk, Father of the Tusk.
Father of the Tusk. You now pronounce you Tusk and Tusk.
But I mean, that movie is basically Kevin Smith, hey, saying, "What if we made a movie that was
Yeah.
this and this and this?" And it's so like the
Yeah.
craziest ideas he could come up with. But then he actually made it,
Right.
and it's so bizarre.
Yeah, I kind of read the synopsis on that and was like, damn.
And it's kind of a horror movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of a comedy. So I was never really like, oh, the horror. I was just like laughing at how crazy they went with it.
Okay.
So I am a big fan of Tusk.
Yeah.
It's hilarious and crazy.
Nice.
And the best part is during the end credits, they play the clip from the podcast where they basically come up with the idea.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So you get to hear them like laughing. Wouldn't it be so stupid if this happened? And then they actually did it.
Pretty much giving the finger to everyone that bought tickets.
Not quite giving the finger, but I mean, just showing like that the whole thing basically came from a
We
big
fucked you. This is a joke.
joke. Hey,
No, if people enjoy it, it's not a fuck you.
yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's a guy turns a guy into a walrus.
I thought you were going to say wiener. I don't know why. I was
know either.
waiting on bated breath. I was like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it. Oh, I didn't say it. He didn't say wee wee. Woo. Yeah.
Walrus, the most noble creature.
Okay, so and then other than Moose Shawls, that's like you said, it's just going to be like, I guess, a rogue moose going out and killing people and stuff. Don't really know anything about the other one, the Yoga Hosers.
Well, apparently it's about two characters from Tusk who were like in one small scene,
Oh,
like the
the
convenience
convenience-
store owners,
Oh.
played by his daughter and someone else.
Hmm.
So they're just going to make a movie about them, which okay,
Hmm.
we'll see.
they'll have to get better like lines, I guess, for them.
I don't know.
They become like the Canadian James Silent Bob, or I guess it would be Dante and Randall.
The one last thing about Tusk is there's a kind of like an extended cameo that's like Austin Powers level crazy. And I won't spoil it, but you need to see it. You won't believe.
Stan Lee.
No.
Why not?
It's like a character that's in the one half of the movie, and it's insane.
So he's
What
it's a cameo that he's in the movie, or
Yes. Are you intrigued now? You should.
well, I don't get what you meant. Like it's an extended cameo.
Well, it's someone that you don't know is in the movie. It shows up.
Okay, so like someone that's like,
The average
are they
viewer.
playing themselves?
No.
Okay, so it's like an actor
Yes.
that comes in and becomes
Totally
a character for a bit.
unexpected.
Okay.
Right, and does a character that should be in an Austin Powers movie.
Okay. When you were like Austin Powers crazy, I was like, did they do like the Soul Bossa Nova dance for like half an hour or something?
They might as well have.
But they did.
No. Straight up silence.
My tears are flowing. Okay, so yeah, I don't really know much about Clerks 2 Clerks 2, Clerks 3 or other than I don't know, do you see anything on the internet, Matt?
No.
Okay. I don't think you even looked, but you're like, I have found no information. I have now hacked
does
into
not
the
exist.
database. But yeah, I think right now it's just kind of like Moose Jaws and Yoga Hosers. It's an idea, and hopefully it happens, but you never know. Like, it could not happen. But a lot of people thought that same thing about like Clerks 2. They didn't really know, like, what was going to happen until they kind of, until it actually started being made. The only thing I see on IMDb is the third and final installment of filmmaker Kevin Smith Clerks series,
We shall see.
which was supposed to be the second one, but Let's see what it says about Mallrats here. It's like, the second and final. It has been described by Kevin Smith as Die Hard in a Mall. Mike Mann, Columbus, Ohio. What does that mean? Okay. Apparently Brian O'Halloran's supposed to be in it. I guess LaForce is back, the guy that plays that. Anyway, so Roddy, Trish the Dish is back. Steve Dave, the fanboy. Remember Steve D, that guy that used to keep calling him Steve Dave? Stop calling him. But yeah, I don't know. Can you think? I mean, there's other Kevin Smith movies. What is there anything else that we had missed? You think that we have pissed?
Zach and Miri make a porno.
Oh yes, good idea.
Thank you.
Now tell me what it's about, since you came up with the idea.
I have
Matt.
no idea.
Oh, you don't know, since you just came up with the idea, Matt. Though.
Yeah.
Well, what's it about? Is it about?
I was just guessing.
Oh, shit.
I got it right.
Damn, you got one right. Tell me all the other movies he's made in the past or in the future, or you're gonna get a neuter. Let's see. There's also, I guess. Oh yeah, he also worked on an untitled Prince documentary at one point that never,
Really?
I think, came to fruition.
Interesting.
The
He
Flying
did put,
Car.
Morris Day in the time.
Yeah, Jersey Girl.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay.
That's the one I haven't seen.
I saw it. I thought it was good.
That was good.
That was about the time that they made Geely, and like everybody was like lumping them in together because they both had Ben Affleck
Yeah.
in a role where his like wife dies or something. Which,
Mhm.
but Jersey Girl came out first, I think. But I thought that was actually good, Jersey Girl. I can't speak for Geely. I've heard shit, but Cop Out. We already kind of talked about that. Red State.
Red State was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Again, totally different from any other Kevin Smith movie.
Right. Kevin Smith seems to be doing things where he'll do like kind of like a horror thing or something a lot more serious, and then he'll go back and do something like goofy. Tusk, Yoga Hosers, we talked about that. Moose Jaws, Mallrats 2, Clerks 3. There's some other ones coming up called Holidays, Hit Somebody TV series, Hell in a Handbag, and Anti-Claws. I'm not sure what those are all about, but he was in, obviously, what was it? The super groovy cartoon movie. He was in Daredevil, that movie that I never saw. Comic book, the movie. And they're doing the Death of Superman documentary, like
Yes.
about that, and I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
it's
that's
coming
gonna be
out
great.
like here in a bit. But like, he was contacted. If you ever watch the things where like it's like Kevin Smith.
An Evening with Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Evening with Kevin Smith. The very first one, I think it is. He talks about how he was contacted to do, and all these years later now they're actually gonna get the full story and all this other stuff because in this the Death of Superman they also have Tim Burton talking about it.
Yeah,
And
it's a
bunch of
documentary
other
about the
people.
movie that the Superman movie that was never made.
Yeah, that
Tim
almost
Burton.
was. They actually had Nicolas Cage in a suit. They had
As
like all
Superman.
this other stuff. Yeah, that could be like an entirely different podcast. Right there, just talking about that. But like I was gonna say, he was contacted to do like, the draft. He actually did the first draft for that.
Right.
Because I guess he went into like Warner Brothers and was like, I'd love to do a Superman, and they were like, well, we can't give that to you, but what would you do? And then he started talking how he would like do all this shit, and then they eventually gave it to him, and then he had to start working with this one guy, and this guy wanted to do all this different stuff. I'm sure whoever's heard
Executive.
this, all these people that have heard this story before, they're just gonna be like, whatever, I've heard this. But it's like essentially the guy wanted to make all these weird changes, like not have Superman have a cape and not have like, he wanted Superman to fight like a spider and like all this other stuff, and he wanted like Brainiac to fight like polar bears, and like so like at the end, obviously Kevin Smith didn't. Right, the movie never got made, but like years later, that same guy went on to make Wild West, and
Which also happens to have a giant spider.
that movie had a that movie had a Wild West, and in that movie, it had a giant spider.
I thought it felt just more like a Wild West. One wild less.
That's true. One Wild West for a Wild West. Woo! Haha, yeah. Getting jiggy with it. Na-na-na-na-na-na.
Welcome to Miami.
Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider. You don't want that. So yeah, I think we've talked on pretty much everything I can think of for I mean, I know he's done a lot of voiceovers. He's done a lot of interviews for different things here and there about, you know, just as himself. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is what I thought about this. Like, whenever, I almost forgot the Clerks cartoon show.
Yeah.
They had only had
series.
6 episodes, but it was really funny.
Solid gold.
Yeah, they were gonna do an actual like movie based off of that, and they actually hinted at it, but then they kind of just didn't do that. Sadly, I think that would have been like huge, but for some reason they didn't do that. I never really found out why, but I know the person that did the Clerks TV show, like the animation for it, is like the same people that went on to do the animation for a show that actually made a lot of money, like the Kim Possible
really?
TV show. Yeah, it was actually like, I remember like on the commentary they were talking about how in like they were like, well, so what are you guys gonna do now or whatever, and this one guy's like, I got this show I'm gonna go work on at Disney Channel. I don't know if it's gonna do good or whatever, and it ended up being like that. So they were also talking about how like that, remember when all the basketball players were like in the elevator and they were talking shit about like Dante and Randall or whatever. They said that pretty much happened
really?
Yeah. To them or something like that. Look on the commentary. That's another thing. Commentaries for like Kevin Smith movies, you have to like listen to them. They're almost always like
I don't think I've listened to any of them.
Gold. They're like hilarious. They're like they're an experience for sure.
Well, he's good at talking.
Yeah, the Kurt Russell and John Carpenter ones are ones also you have to listen to. If you ever heard of John Carpenter, Kurt Russell, there's a lot of laughing and cackling throughout
Kurt Russell's like almost laughing to death.
Yeah, but they're really good, entertaining commentaries.
Oh yeah.
So
we'll get to John Carpenter.
Yeah, John Carpenter. We're gonna get to you. You better be shaking in your boots.
We're calling you out.
In your sweatpants. Oh god. I don't know. Anything to say left about Kevin Smith?
No. I mean, I've enjoyed every one of his movies I've seen except for Cop Out.
Yeah.
So he's got high marks in my book.
Nice. Okay. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else really.
What are we gonna do next week?
I don't know, Matt.
Maybe we should have figured this out.
Well, you said John Carpenter. Let's do it next week.
All of his movies?
Fuck. Well, we ended up talking about everything Kevin Smith related, but we'll figure out exactly what we're going to talk about for John Carpenter, but more than likely we'll end up talking about all of his movies, but we'll do the best and worst on a certain scale. We'll have to...
It's going to be like an 80-hour podcast.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about this. Things may change. But...
James Bond will return.
Yeah.
And
we'll do a James Bond one.
And then totally...
this will be like an 8-hour long freaking podcast. Now, we'll talk about John Carpenter. We might just do movies with Kurt Russell in them, but then that kind of leaves out some of the other good ones too. I don't know. We'll
no
talk
matter
about,
what,
yeah,
you're going to hear a best and you're going to hear a worst.
For John Carpenter. Fuck. No. Okay, so next week, John Carpenter. We will be talking about him, and we're going to figure out exactly how that's going to work. But, yeah, do you have anything else to say, Matt, before we sign out?
If you're listening right now, thanks. And I can't believe it.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. Even if it's, just one person, thanks for listening, because it's just us talking.
Leave us some comments,
movies.
leave us some feedback.
Yeah, on the YouTube.
Good or bad.
Yeah. Just say, hey, you guys are doing good, or hey, you're doing bad.
This podcast is terrible. I don't know why I keep listening.
Yeah, I'm actually being tortured right now. I'm tied down, and I can't escape the voice of your crap. So, next week, John Carpenter.
Goodbye.